And we're back with another episode of the Tar Heel Insider Podcast. I'm Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to UNC athletics. I am joined here today by one of our new beat writers, Corey Davis. He is a senior at UNC and will be contributing a good bit to the site, whether it's writing and producing film and stuff like that. He's got a pretty good resume. So Corey, why don't you introduce yourself to the folks here that like to listen and watch the podcast?
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Grant. Super excited to be here. As Grant mentioned, I'm Corey. I'm a senior at UNC. I kind of dabble in different fields of the sports industry. You could say I've done hospitality, writing, filming, documentary work. I've kind of done it all. So super blessed to have this opportunity and hopefully continue to come back on the podcast and give, a take or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know you did some work because I know you mentioned documentary. I know you did some work on a documentary about the women's soccer team and their national championship run last year. So tell us what that was like for you and what you got to experience.
Yeah, super surreal experience. One of my professors chose me as one of two videographers to kind of go to that game, experience it from the sideline, got super cool footage. And then as soon as the game ended, he called, said the documentary is happening. And then from there, we kind of got to work the next day, started planning the interviews with some of the key players. And then I was able to lead the national championship chapter, which was the longest of the documentary. Definitely recommend go giving it a watch. Put a lot of blood, sweat, tears into it. Super proud. Definitely one of my proudest accomplishments since I've been in college. And yeah, just gave me a bunch of cool experience. And then obviously just being in a moment like that, a Carolina national championship, nothing beats it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And, I know you weren't able to cover the game against TCU, but you were able to attend the game as a student. What was kind of like the atmosphere like kind of leading up to the game? And, of course, what was the atmosphere like during the game? I know at first it was awesome, and then, of course, everything died down afterwards.
Yeah, I think from a student perspective, we all talk about that first drive, thinking we were this Carolina team that we would have never seen coming. So we were all super excited. Energy was insane. It was the most packed I've ever seen Keenan. I've been here for 4 years. This is my fourth year here, and it was most packed I've seen it, the most pre-game hype I've seen. Everyone was just a different level of hype for Carolina football. So, of course, coming into it, we were all expecting something. And unfortunately, we're super disappointed with the performance. I think as the game progressed, we kind of saw who the team really was. Of course, it's the first game. It's the jitters. We hope to come back from that. But I think, honestly, by third quarter, it was a wrap. Like, everyone was trying to get out of there as quick as possible. I know there's so many videos out there of people just evacuating the stadium. So shout out to those few people who stayed around the fourth quarter. But painful game for sure.
Yeah, I would say they quickly left out. I mean, they stayed there for a while. I mean, it got to 27-7, and you can kind of tell the wheels were turning. People still saying then. Once it got to 34-7, we're like, all right, yeah, we're going home. Yeah, but yeah, I know. Of course, I know you went to that game. I know probably. Did you watch the Charlotte game? I know some people had issues trying to watch the Charlotte game because it was on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, that was the exact problem. I couldn't really get too into watching it. I saw some of the stats, nothing crazy, but I wasn't able to watch the full game. I know you were there though, and that whole experience.
Yeah, that was definitely an experience, and it was just so. I've never covered a football game in a tent. Let's just say that that was a first. It was and honestly, it was my first road game. A first road game covering a football game because I didn't cover road games when I was at LSU. So it was my first one, just having to be in driving distance. And, of course, in ACC, a lot of places are in driving distance, of course. Of course, Charlotte's 2 hours away. But, the experience wasn't so much at the game. It was, going into the game. I had to drive through all kinds of rain. It was raining all throughout the state of North Carolina. So, it was kind of sketchy driving through. And then, of course, you get there and you're under a tent. Away from the silence and everything. So you're kind of in the corner, the back end corner of the end zone. It was a weird experience, but it was good. But I'll say this: the way they had their post game press conferences, those were actually kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty nice, pretty roomy and everything like that. kind of cold, but it was pretty roomy. But
Yeah.
one of the things about North Carolina this year is really just how much they've been struggling offensively. I think that has been the main storyline throughout the season. Of course, I mean, I know it's all the off the field stuff with Belichick and stuff like that. I mean, that's a podcast for another time. I've already talked about that. And, when it comes up again, we'll talk about it again. But I'm just talking about the on the field issues. I mean, the offense has been bad, right? And me and Jeremiah talked about this on the podcast beforehand. We're kind of giving out our strengths of this team and our weaknesses for this team. And our strengths, he said quarterback, which actually I think I actually like because Gio's really experienced. Max has plenty of experience, so you really have a good quarterback room. But the issue is everybody else on the offense, right?
Yeah.
I said running backs were he said running backs were the weakest link, and I said wide receivers. And ironically, those are the two positions that are hurting the most. And even the offensive line, I mean, like that offensive line had depth. I thought they were good. I didn't know they were going to struggle this bad, and a lot of it is because Austin Lasky's out, of course. I mean, that was a huge injury. I think Christian Kelly's also battling an injury too. He's playing, but he's battling injury as well. But just the running back to the receivers have been, it's been really concerning. Just that UNC isn't able to, the Tar Heels haven't been able to find that number one running back, and then that receiver. You don't have speed. I mean, Jordan Shipp's great, but Jordan Shipp's more of a possession receiver. You need another guy who can stretch the field. That's Chris Culliver, but we don't know his stats for this game. And, I mean, who else is there besides Chris Culliver? I mean, there's really not many options.
100%. Yeah, I think the problem, obviously, these first few games, we've kind of just been, like, trying to find our rhythm. I think we're obviously struggling to do so. But like you said, I think we've been productive on offense in kind of a sense through, Chris Culliver, Jordan Shipp, Demon June, for example. I think they definitely have been productive for our offense, but they haven't found exactly where they need to be on the field. And I think that's really what's messing us up. There's no one who's really owning their roles yet. So I think each game is just kind of we're just kind of figuring out who's going to do what, that type of thing. I honestly, even looking to tomorrow, there's no concrete feeling I have towards any specific players, or can't really count on anyone to be as productive as I want, because the first two games of the season have just been so chaotic in that sense. So interested to see how it'll go. We'll see.
Yeah, man. It's and also you can just make a case for the play calling too. Of course, I think just the lack of talent, which is really apparent. And the thing is, when I was writing all these preview articles before the season, I mentioned a lot about experience and mentioned a lot about depth. Not one time did I mention talent because we really get a chance to see them. I think that's something I've talked to you about before. Like, me and Jeremiah really didn't get a chance to see the team because they basically closed everything off. And you're just kind of like scratching and clawing to find anything about this team. So, and some people say, well, I heard some people say, well, this receiver core is really talented. I'm like, how can you say this receiver core is talented if you've never seen them before? And it's very clear that maybe there's only one or two guys that really stand down that receiving room.
Yeah, I think even speaking from a student perspective, I know there was so much chatter. Obviously, this is like, we're students. Bill's our head coach of our football team. Everyone kind of had, it was 50-50 between we're going to be this stellar, amazing team because under Bill's guidance. Then the other half, and unfortunately the part I was a part of, is like, we don't know anything. There's nothing to really go based off of. This roster is brand new. Coach is brand new. Most of the staff, we didn't know. There was nothing to know. I think that's becoming clearer and clearer as the days go on. So hopefully with Richmond, we start to see where Carolina's positioned, in the conference, in the league, wherever it might be. But as of right now, it's kind of still a toss-up as to what could happen to this Carolina team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and moving forward, so these are kind of the stats right here. I mean, and the really one that most interesting things about this team was Damon June, right? Damon June did not appear in the TCU game, but against Charlie had 9 carries for 52 yards, which lead the team actually. And then Davion Goss, we actually got to see the old Davion Goss against Charlie when he ran for 5 carries for 30 yards, which most of his yards came in that the second game. And so I think you're kind of starting to see maybe North Carolina form a 1-2 punch in the running back room. We'll see more against Richmond. But from what we know, it will be a 4-5 running back by committee type of ordeal against Richmond. Once again, that's what Bill Belichick said in his press conference. Gio Lopez, 224 yards with a touchdown and interception. He's completed 60% of his passes, but that's still a very low number. Hopefully, we get to see the offense open up more against Richmond. And, of course, there's not a single receiver that has over 100 yards. And I also want to mention just too, Javarius Green, of course, is also in that group of Jordan Shipp and Chris Culliver. But you would like to see them do more stuff. And unfortunately, I think that's a lot of it's because of the play calling and everything like that and just trying to figure things out. But it's very clear that your top three receivers are Jordan Shipp, Javarius Green, and Chris Culliver.
For sure, yeah. I mean, even looking at Richmond stats, I think obviously we assume this to be a crazy blowout. UNC takes the win. I mean, against Charlotte, 20-3 still wasn't our best performance. Based off the stats, that should have been a much higher margin of victory. But I think even just looking at Richmond, some of their game highs, 40, a lot of their stats look unfortunately very similar to ours, especially just in that past game against Wofford. 153 passing yards, 119 rushing yards, 40 rushes. A little honestly too similar to how we've been performing. So I think this game tomorrow is really just going to show the talent we have or the talent we just do not have.
Yeah. And really also, I think another thing that's really stood out has really been the improvement of the special teams unit. I mean, the special teams, like Reese Verhoff, he went 2 for 2 against Charlotte, one of 33 yards, another one of 49 yards. The punting has been good. Tom McGinnis has been awesome so far. I mean, he's had 2 50-yard punts. He's had he's had 5 punts inside the 20-yard line. By the way, he had about 7 last season, so he's almost eclipsed that mark. And I think that's something I know we don't really pay attention to special teams, but that's something that came of note on Tuesday, because Tuesday we only spoke with the specialist, but they've mentioned a lot of things that Belichick has done, because Belichick is really big on special teams, like a lot of coaches, but Belichick is makes it act like it's almost as important as offensive line play. Like, that's how important he treats it. And you've seen it with North Carolina and how they've been performing on the special teams front.
Yeah, I mean, special teams, I think under Mac Brown's guidance and during his reign as head coach, there wasn't, I wouldn't say there was as much attention to special teams as there should have been maybe, but I think Bill honestly, of course, sees every part of his team as being equally as crucial, but I think you're definitely correct in the fact that he does want a solid special teams players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see that with the Patriots. I mean, the dude would literally sign a lacrosse player who's never played football before, and then all of a sudden they become a 34-time Pro Bowler. But yeah, I mean, just moving on, especially just going to defense. I mean, I know the defense, of course against Charlotte, they look great, right? They allowed only 3 points, which is the lowest total that the defense, UNC defense has allowed since 2001, which says a lot about the state of defense throughout North Carolina's history in the 21st century. But against CSU, they look terrible. They couldn't tackle old granny, right? I mean, they recorded 19 missed tackles, but to be honest with you, it probably could have been more because it looked like they were missing 2 tackles per play. I'm not even joking. I know Marcus Allen was toast bread out there. I mean, he allowed 9 catches on 9 targets for over 130 yards and a touchdown. He had a 25.3 tackling grade on PFF, which was terrible. But you know what? And then the next game, the defense played better, of course. They allowed less than half of what they allowed against CCU. Marcus Allen greatly improved. He had 2 pass breakups actually. Gavin Gibson looked great. Andrew Simpson and Kamari House, those 2 guys have been great at the linebacker position. I mean, just for this defense, we know Richmond's offense is not the greatest in the world, right? Richmond has really been known more for its defense, which is spectacular, but his offense is very good. But they have a quarterback that is listed at 6'4", 260, Kyle Wickersham. I'm very familiar with Kyle Wickersham because he is originally from New Orleans, and he actually played against my little brother Noah in high school. But he's a very good quarterback. He comes from a very athletic family. His dad was a former quarterback at LSU. His sister was all SEC pitcher at LSU as well. A very athletic family. He's also very athletic, and he can run. And Bill Belichick compared him to Ben Roethlisberger. So, what would be the keys for UNC's defense in this game against Richmond's offense? I know Richmond's offense isn't very good, but they do have a capable player in Kyle Wilkerson.
For sure, yeah. I really can't speak too much to Richmond's overall performance there, but I know, as you mentioned, I'm glad you did. Andrew Simpson has been key so far in how Carolina has performed on the defense. I know he had an 11 tackle opener against TCU. Also a super disruptive performance against Charlotte this past weekend. So I think he's definitely going to continue to be productive, and we hope to rely on him. I know we talked about Damon June earlier. I think against TCU, he only allowed 20 yards on 6 different targets. So also rarely challenged in Charlotte. So I think he also is looking to continue to produce and get in his rhythm. And I think, honestly, once we have, that was not Damon, that was Dixon, Thaddeus Dixon, 20 yards on 6 targets. So, I think as long as these players continue to keep in their rhythm, and obviously with training and that coaching from Bill and Jamie Collins, for example, we should be in better shape for these upcoming games of the season.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And just a reminder about Richmond too. This is a proud program since 2005, 154-88 record, 6 quarterfinal appearances, 3 semifinal appearances, and they've also won the FCS National Championship in 2008. And they have been to the FCS playoffs the last 3 years, and they're coming off a 10-3 record. Also, those accolades I just mentioned, those have all happened since the year 2005. So in the last 20 years, they've been one of the better FCS programs around. And then also, they also have some pretty good history against FBS opponents. I wrote down, I had released an article earlier yesterday about Richmond. They've had, since in the last 20 years, they've had 4 victories over FBS opponents, 3 of which came against Duke. When Duke was really bad at football, 2006, 2009, 2011. But their most recent win over an FBS opponent came over Virginia in a 37-20 rout in 2016. So about 10 years away, which honestly makes me feel old because I was a senior in high school. And so now I realize, oh my God, time has really passed. But yeah, man, it's just like, this is a very important game for North Carolina. And it's not in the sense like, oh, this is like a big-time opponent. Of course, it's against Richmond. But you want to see them progress. They've either been stagnant or they've just been horrible. Or really, they've been horrible and stagnant, to be honest with you. But you want to see them progress. You want to see them be more aggressive. You want to see them move up and down the field. You don't want to see, like the last game, where 6 of your last 9 possessions after you had gone up 10-0 had 3 you didn't convert a single first down. Like, you need to show progress, especially even though, yes, Richmond's defense is very good. You're the more talented team. You should be able to bully this Richmond team. And if you don't, that game against UCF becomes much, much harder.
For sure. And I think every Carolina fan, I feel like I can speak to most people who are watching these games, especially under Bill's new reign. We're just looking for them to get in that groove and just see how well they mesh as a team, because there's obviously something Bill sees in his roster that we just haven't been able to see yet. So I think each game is honestly just a test of whether or not that will be the day we're seeing it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned we're not seeing what Bill Belichick's seeing, because nobody's seen what because we haven't been allowed to. So I think this is the game where really, and that's the thing too, like about this team, is that because you added 70 new players, 40 of which have come after spring ball, right? So there's a lot of adjustment. There's a lot of chemistry issues that need to be solved because you brought in 70 new players. So you're dealing with that. Then you had a month to prepare for the season. You only had 2 weeks to really get going with full pad contact and everything like that. I mean, it's not the most ideal situation for North Carolina in a new in a transition period, and then also they added 70 new players. Did they have to kick off a bunch of players to add 70 new players? I don't know. That's probably another discussion for another time, but that's the way things are. But before I get to my last question for Corey, I want to mention this about UNC and Richmond. Carolina has played Richmond 14 times. They are 12-2 in the all-time series against the Spiders. Their last meeting happened in 1978. By the way, Richmond won 27-18. So maybe, hopefully, history doesn't repeat itself. Richmond's only other victory came in 1940. And then also the last time UNC lost against a FCS opponent was in 1999 when Furman beat the Tar Heels 28-3 at Kenan Stadium. And if you want to know how long that was, I was a baby. So that's how long ago it was. Like literally maybe 6-7 months old. So that's how long ago that was. But Corey, to end the show here, where do you see the Tar Heels going from here? Because I know there's a lot. Some people are having a positive outlook, but a lot of people are having a negative outlook. A lot of that has to do with the butt whooping that happened on Labor Day night against TCU. So where do you see the Tar Heel going, and should Tar Heel fans have any hope?
I mean, it's hard to be positive in situations like these, unfortunately. I think I really haven't seen a solid Carolina team since Drake May was here. I think that was my freshman or sophomore year. That season, I know everyone was super excited to go to the games. We kind of knew what we were getting. And there was just a different level of just like comfort around that team. I think with this one, super new season, we don't really know what's going on. I think if I want to sit here and be positive, that would just be simply because I'm a Carolina fan at heart. But I think if we're objectively speaking, there's not much I can even really talk to because there hasn't been any consistency yet. And I think this Richmond game will kind of finally give us some type of conversation to kind of figure out what needs to be fixed. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be fixed, but just, get more patterns of conversation going. But I think right now we're too early of a stage to even make too many predictions. And again, Bill isn't letting us anywhere. So
yeah, I mean, shit. You think, like, honestly, it makes me feel great that I'm in a better situation than the New England Patriots. That I would gladly take that, because if they got banned, you know what? I'm a level higher than the New England Patriots scouts. That's awesome.
Exactly. Gotta take what we can get.
Yeah, take that, Bob Kraft. All right. That's gonna wrap it up for today's podcast. For the Tar Heels Insider podcast right here on SI. Make sure to go check out the website, si.com/college/UNC. Also, make sure to check us out on Twitter at Tar Heels on SI. Also, we have our Facebook page up and running. Just look up North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. Should be one of the first things that pop up. You can also follow me and Corey on Twitter. For me, it's my last name, first name, Chachere. And if you have a hard time trying to spell it, just pull out the Tony Sasters out of the cabinet, look at it, and bam. And then Corey is Corey M. Davis 04 on Twitter. Make sure to go check out both of us. Give us a follow for all your latest news in regards to your Tar Heels. Thank you guys so much for watching. And you guys have a great rest of your day. And Corey, thanks for hopping on, my man.
Yes, appreciate you, Grant.
No problem. We'll see you guys later.
See you guys.
And we'll have a post-game reaction show.